Welcome to the Women's Football Show here on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Kerry Pollock. Alison McConnell, Cara Henderson are here, as well as Kilmarnock striker Dionne Brown. Dionne, lovely to have you back on the show.
Thank you for having me back again.
An emphatic win at the weekend, 8-1 over Ayr. How do you feel that went and how the season's going on after all?
It was a great result for the team. We kicked on. I think the first 5-10 minutes we had about 3 or 4 chances, which is really good. So it was causing a bit of upset. But yeah, 8 goals, 8 wins. It's a great ending to the day. And
a goal on the score sheet as well for yourself?
Yes, just the one, yep.
You set a target for the season, or do you just take them as they come?
I'll just take them as they come.
And we're back to the beginning with the fixtures for yourself. Rossvale this weekend coming up.
Yep.
Is this must get 3 points in this one?
Yes, hopefully we, after obviously the first game of the season, they defeated us, so hopefully we kick on and retaliate with a win this Sunday.
Absolutely. Well, let's have a look at the league table and see how things are shaping up in SWPL 1. Rangers continue to lead the way. Glasgow City follow closely in second. After a win over Thistle, Hearts find themselves third. Celtic still involved in Champions League duties, of course. Hibernian are fifth after an impressive start to the season. 9 points behind are Thistle, but still find themselves in the top 6. Motherwell Spartans tied on points. Montrose and Queen's Park both on 6. Aberdeen sit 11th, and Dundee United have collected just 1 point in 9 games. Alison, let's start at the top of the table. Rangers, their derby, of course, we haven't spoke about the fallout of that. Should they have stole it in the end, or were Celtic there for the taking?
I think they'll be frustrated that they allowed Celtic to come back into it. I thought Rangers were very dominant. The first half, they went in at the break just 1 goal up. It could have been a wider margin. I know Joe Potter was a bit frustrated that Tess Medag's goal was given offside. I thought it probably was offside, but certainly I felt as though Rangers were very, very dominant in the first hour. And it was something that undermined them last term, was not being able to kill teams off when they were in charge. Now, you've not really seen evidence of that over the course of the opening weeks of the campaign. They've been very clinical in front of goal, but I just thought once it went to 2-1, Celtic got a goal back fairly quickly, a penalty of their own just after Rangers had established that 2-goal lead, and I felt as though then Celtic felt a bit freer in how they were playing. They went and had a go, and you could sense just the mental aspect of the game then. Once, just 2-1 can be such an odd scoreline to try and manage. And then I actually thought Celtic could have nicked it at the death. Celtic had 2 very, very good chances right in the closing stages of the game. So overall, a point probably fairly reflective of how the game went. But I think Rangers will be annoyed. I think there'll be a frustration there that they let Celtic off the hook. They let them to come back into it, because I think that would have been quite a significant win had they went and taken all 3 points.
Cara, how impressed were you with Celtic's comeback in that game?
Yeah, I think I was really impressed. I think obviously with all the games they've played recently, when you saw that Rangers were 2-0 up, I probably thought, right, okay, that they'll probably sort of sweep by then, especially didn't expect them to concede at the end. But Celtic, although I think we spoke about it, they've maybe not been putting as many goals in the net. They've had a great start to the season. They've got themselves in a great position in the Champions League. The mood in the camp will be great, so I'm not surprised that they've fought back. And to be fair, makes it more competitive as well, because it closes the gap for Glasgow City. And I think for probably, as you said, it was probably a fair reflection on the game.
It took them till the 56th minute of the weekend, Dionne, to find that opening goal against Motherwell. We're used to seeing Rangers with these high scorelines in recent weeks. Is that maybe a strategy that teams are adapting, trying to frustrate Rangers for the majority of the game?
Well, I think that's it. The teams will go in and they'll have that aspect to try and defend against Rangers, and it's it's hard. You'll know yourself playing with Partick. It's a tough thing to do, to play against Rangers. So yeah, I think that's what they go in. They go in trying to defend, and if they can get that goal, then that's it.
Absolutely. Glasgow City has put 5 past Aberdeen. 3 goals to the good within 45 minutes, Alison. Not a title they would go by normally, but dark horses this season?
Yeah, I think it was interesting last season. I felt as though there was maybe the first time you've really seen Celtic and Rangers potentially kick on. I thought they maybe looked as though there was a wee bit of a cushion between themselves and Glasgow City. That was obviously reflected in the final league table, but I just felt Glasgow City, of course, it had injuries to key players last season. A lot of work done this summer on and off the pitch in terms of recruitment. Scott Booth obviously going back as a number 2. They've brought players in. I think they've had a very strong start to the season. I think the indications you would draw just from the opening few months would be it's very much a top 3. You've very much got that classic triumvirate of Celtic, Rangers, Glasgow City, although of course this weekend will tell you where they are. I think the fact that Rangers hosting Glasgow City, that game at Ibrox too, want to get as many people along, the fact it's an international break, you're hoping maybe that people looking for a football fix will turn out, and certainly I think that's a game where you will get some kind of indication of just what the difference is between the two sides. I think Glasgow City will feel as though they're flying going into that one, a 5-0 win, a very, very comprehensive victory. Could have been wider too, had a lot of chances in the game. Rangers were stuffy, they found Motherwell quite hard to break down. It took them to just before the hour mark, before they got the goals, before they got the breakthrough. It's not been like them this season up until Thursday night. They've been blowing teams away, they've been scoring goals for fun, really clocking up really cricket scores almost in the league. So I think it's a very interesting weekend. I'm curious to see just how it plays out at Ibrox.
Yeah, Cara, can we expect moments like this for teams, albeit 2-0, it's still 3 points for Rangers, but like Alison said, we're used to seeing the 6, 7, 8-0 scoreline.
Yeah, I think it comes back to what we said before. Last year it came down to goal difference, which is not really normal, but when you see how tight it is already at the top, it is important. And Celtic have now weathered Glasgow City and Rangers without getting beaten, and so that means that the game at the weekend is really, really huge. And when you're drawing with these top teams, and you know, I think that's at the end of last season when Celtic and Rangers, it was a draw at Broadwood, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think again, like that came back to be. It doesn't feel like that bad of a result, a draw, but actually it is important in the grand scheme of things. It was
definitive.
Yeah.
It really did become definitive in terms, and at that point Celtic's goal difference was worth an extra point essentially.
Of course, yeah.
I think there were only 2 games left after that. Yeah, it was. I think it's huge. I think the games between the top 3 are very important. And Jo Potter made a point last week where she said, well, we didn't lose against either Glasgow City or Celtic and we still lost the league. So I think you can't take your eye off the ball elsewhere, but I don't think there's any doubting just how significant these games are in shaping up for the title race, because there can be so little differences between the top 3. Certainly last season, what you saw between Celtic and Rangers, there was just nothing between the two squads. They were so much of a much, and it was just a goal difference. Celtic were swatting teams aside, much in the way that Rangers have started this season. They were scoring big score lines, and then I think that just gives you maybe a psychological edge going into the run-in when you know you have that cushion, that if it is tight, that it's your nose that's in front.
They'll know that as well, Dionne, going up against each other, that those are the games that are going to be looked at as, did this turn the course of the season for us or not?
Well, that's exactly it. It's like a draw can be as much as teams will think, they'll go for a win. A draw could be a massive thing at the end of the league. It could go down to goal differences, like the same as us yesterday. It's like, well, we're playing here, let's try and score as many as we can. Obviously, keep the level head, but yeah, the goals can be massive at the very end of that league.
Absolutely. Cara, it was a defeat for Thistle at the weekend. A frustrating afternoon for yourselves?
Yeah, it was. I thought, you know, we had a plan, and I thought that we all executed it really, really well. I thought that we started the game brilliant, but I think Brian said it after the game, and we all know it ourselves. When you're on top against a good team, especially Hearts, because you know the threats we've got to take our chances. It's just it's the game of fine margins, and we definitely got punished for that yesterday. I thought that in terms of how we played in the first half, especially, we were well worth going in at half time. I mean, at the very minimum, a draw, but I thought we should have gone in definitely winning, and we got punished. I think Brian said it, but it's a game of 2 boxes, and you know, they scored their chances and defended ours, and we didn't do that. So like I've said before, there's so many positives to take from how we're playing. We were competitive, but I think we're all really disappointed to come away with a 3-0 defeat yesterday.
How would you assess your season up until now?
I think that there's definitely games that we look. I think Aberdeen at Firhill is definitely the one that stands out, as that was a really poor performance, and I think that we came away from that feeling really disappointed in ourselves. I think we let our standards drop, and I think that's the big one that I look back on and go, that was one that got away. But then apart from that, I think that the game against Hibs and Hearts, we've been competitive in them. I think we've given a good account of ourselves, and the thing is, this time last year we were in a very similar position, and I think that it's definitely about getting in a rhythm, getting wins. I think our form of late has been good. I think our performances have definitely picked up as well, so it's just about keeping on going. It's a long league, it's a long season, you play each team multiple times, so we can be happy with how games have gone, but I think definitely we know ourselves that some have been missed opportunities. Yeah, well, Hearts, Dionne, they have had an impressive start to the season so far. Do you think they've exceeded their own expectations in a way?
I think Hearts have, yeah. Hearts have got, they've signed Bailey Hutchison, who's an out-and-out striker. She's a great player. Like obviously yesterday, just I think you said the first touch of your ball was the goal, and that can be the difference in a game. But yeah, I think the Hearts are pulling together well.
And Hibernian on the other side of the capital, Ali, another force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, I think they've just managed to steady the ship after that defeat to Hearts, like a fairly sobering derby defeat last month. I think since then it's been fairly positive for them. They'll be delighted with that result yesterday.
And Celtic, of course, find themselves in Champions League duties. Striker Saoirse Noonan says she wants to make history on the grandest stage of all.
I think when you look at the last 16, it was just kind of like a pinch me moment. One team was better than the next and you're going down the line, so it was kind of, we were going to have to take any of the big teams, and yeah, who doesn't want to be playing those? If you told any of us last year we were going to be playing Real Madrid or Chelsea and Stamford Bridge, we probably would have said, you're funny. But yeah, so look, we've nothing to lose. We've already created history and we want to create more, and it's 90 minutes of football. You saw what we've done in 25 minutes there, and I think with the hard work rate that we have in this team, with the depth we have, I think it's possible. So yeah, look, we're not going to again roll over. We're going to fight, put our best foot forward and see what we can do.
Tough competition, Ali, but the belief is certainly within the squad.
Yeah, I think so. I think they'll feel as though almost they've got nothing to lose, and I'll qualify that by saying when you look at Real Madrid, Chelsea, Twente, there is a very real prospect that it could be particularly sobering when you're going up against teams of that magnitude, that European experience, a bit of pedigree. There, Chelsea, Champions League semi-finalists last year, a very, very, very good side. So I think Celtic will probably have their eyes open to what the differentials are in quality there. However, in saying that, they're in the last 16 of the Champions League. They've made it to the group stages, first time in their history that they've been here, and I think they want to go and make the most of it. So open their campaign against Twente tomorrow night at New Douglas Park. I think Celtic are very optimistic about ticket sales. I think they've encouraged all fan groups to come back in again after the sort of impasse that was there last season around Celtic Park and supporters groups not wanting to go, and because they didn't have access to that Celtic end. I think all that's been smoothed over. I think optimistic that there'll be a decent crowd in Hamilton, where they're going to be playing home games from now on, and I think they'll be really keen to try and set a positive tone. I think they'll know the might of Real Madrid and Chelsea. They'll fancy Twente is just maybe an opportunity to bank some points.
Dionne, as Alison mentioned there, they are the first Scottish team to get into the last 16 of the Champions League. Will Elena Sudoku take a bit of pressure off them? Because like Saoirse Noonan just said, we don't have anything to lose going into these games.
Well, that's it. They don't have anything to lose. They can go in with a bit of confidence off the back of the 2-2 draw with Rangers. But yeah, hopefully they can fill that stadium at Hamilton, and they can use that park, because it's quite a big park. Use the park to their advantage in the game tomorrow.
Cara, we spoke about it a few times on the show, but just how different of a challenge, how will you have to change the way that you look at this game compared to the league games they've had already?
Yeah, I think it's interesting, because it's something that I think the players themselves will be so excited for, and probably really nervous. So it's managing your emotions going into the game as well. I think it's really hard because when you look at it, you're like, okay, we fancy Twente rather than Chelsea and Real Madrid, but they'll be a good team as well. It's just it's really difficult, but I think that it's a great occasion. As we said, like, they'll be in Hamilton. I'm sure there'll be a great crowd there, and I think that it's just about going and giving a really good account of themselves and being competitive. I don't know how they approach the game, because obviously we don't know much about Twente, but I think it's just about going and being, do you know what, we've got to the Champions League for the first time in our history, what can we go and do? Let's give it the best goal we can. And I think they've actually genuinely got players that they can make an impact in these games. I mean, I don't know about Real Madrid and Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, but I think when they're at home, they've got assets and they can use them.
Absolutely. Well, finally, let's have a look to see what's coming up at the weekend in the league. Rangers take on Glasgow City, Montrose face Partick Thistle, Spartans against Hibernian, Queen's Park will host Aberdeen, Motherwell face Dundee United, and Hearts against Celtic. A lot of big games in there, Ali. Hearts against Celtic, of course, we've touched on Rangers against Glasgow City as well. We could see a bit of a shift in the table, perhaps.
Yeah, I think that'll be a hard game for Celtic. I think going away to face Eva Olive's side on the back of the Champions League game, I think the fact it's on Tuesday night will maybe help them in that account, and I do think they probably have the depth to cope with it. However, Hearts have been very keen. They've put in a lot of work this summer to try and bridge the gap between the top three and themselves. So far they've lost out to Glasgow City both in the league and in the cup. Just interesting to see how this one plays out. And of course I think the game of the day is obviously at Ibrox for Rangers against Glasgow City. I think there'll be a lot of people just keeping a wee eye on that one, watching how it plays out and what conclusions you can really draw from that meeting.
Cara, finally, your game, is this a must get 3 points in this one?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be really hard. I think Montrose, I think they kept it level against Hibs until about the 75th minute yesterday, which shows that they're very, very competitive and they've got a lot of good players that can hurt us. So it's going to be a tough game, especially obviously when you're going all the way to Montrose. It's never easy. So it's going to be a tough game, but yeah, it's definitely one that we want to attack and get all 3 points for sure.
Absolutely. Well, best of luck to all the teams at the weekend, and Kilmarnock against Rossvale. Of course, thanks to Cara, Alison and Dionne for joining me here today. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.